What if there is a universal plug for AI? Just one connector that could link any model to any app instantly. Well, that's the big promise behind a new open standard called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP for short. Today, we're going to break down how this one simple idea could completely transform our AIs from just smart speakers into actual active teammates. So let's kick things off with a question that really gets to the heart of the problem. What if your AI could do more than just talk? I mean, what if it could actually do things for you? Like access your files, connect to all your apps, and take action on your behalf. And do all of it safely and securely. That's the dream, right?
To really get why MCP is such a big deal, a potential game changer, we have to talk about the invisible walls that surround pretty much all of today's AIs. And it's a limitation you've probably felt yourself, even if you couldn't quite put your finger on what it was. The reality is, right now, even the most powerful AIs are basically stuck in a box. Think of them as these brilliant brains trapped in a soundproof room. They can't see your local files, they can't connect to your work apps like GitHub or Jira, and they definitely can't access any real-time data. To make them do anything useful, developers have to build these clunky, custom-coded bridges for every single task. It's a real pain. And this really shows the difference, right? On one side, you have today's AI. It's isolated, it can't really do anything without a developer writing a bunch of fragile custom glue code. But where we want to be is with a connected AI, one that can access live data, take real actions, and do it all using a universal standard. And yep, you guessed it, that standard is the Model Context Protocol. So, okay, how do we actually bridge that gap? Well, the solution comes from Anthropic, and it's one of those ideas that's so simple, it's brilliant. But don't let the simplicity fool you. It has some massive implications for how we're all going to interact with AI. So what is it? At its heart, MCP is basically an open source rulebook. It's a standardized language that lets any AI model talk to any tool, any API, or any data source that also speaks that same language. It's like creating a common ground where all these different systems can finally collaborate. Honestly, the best way to think about this is to picture it as a USB-C port, but for AI, right? Remember before USB-C? You had a drawer full of a million different cables for every single device. It was a mess. Well, MCP is designed to be that one universal connector. Any model can plug into any tool, just like that, instantly. And this isn't just some neat tech thing for developers to geek out on. It has real-world consequences, especially for teams. We're talking way simpler integrations, which means a huge boost in productivity. Why? Because you can build a tool once and then reuse it everywhere. And maybe most importantly, it's designed from the very beginning with security and user control built right in. All right, so let's move on from the theory and see how this whole concept actually becomes a practical tool you could use in your daily workflow. This is where it all starts to get really interesting. Okay, let's ground this in a really simple, concrete example. Let's talk about a task that's basically impossible for most AIs today. Imagine you've got a CSV file sitting on your desktop. How could you get an AI to analyze it for you without having to upload that file to some random server on the internet? Well, here's how it would work with MCP. First, you just ask your AI, hey, how many rows are in this file? The AI sees that request, and using the protocol, it talks to a little tool you have installed locally called CSV Analyzer. Now that tool securely reads the file right there on your computer. And this is key, your data never leaves your machine. It finds the answer, passes it back to the AI, and the answer just appears in your chat. It's simple, it's secure, and it's incredibly powerful. Okay, so analyzing one file is cool, but that's really just the tip of the iceberg. The real magic starts to happen when you scale this up and apply this same idea to the much more complex workflows that teams like yours rely on every single day. Now, for any software team out there, this next one is going to be huge. We all know code reviews are absolutely critical, but man, are they time-consuming. So what if you could just ask your AI to give you a quick summary of a new pull request before you even open a single file? And boom, here's what you get back. The AI, using an MCP tool that's connected to GitHub, just pulls the key details straight from the pull request. You see, it's not just talking about the code anymore. It's giving you a clean, concise summary of the title, the author, the number of files changed. It's become an actual active participant in your workflow.
And look, this goes way beyond just code. The same exact principle could connect your AI to pretty much any tool in your stack. Just imagine it, automating Jira ticket creation, drafting documentation in Notion, querying a database right from your IDE, all with just a simple request in a chat window. The possibilities here, the potential ecosystem, it's absolutely massive.
So, where does all this go from here? I mean, MCP is still in its early days, so it's really important to look at both the exciting future and, the real challenges that are still on the road ahead. Of course, it's not all smooth sailing just yet. There are definitely some hurdles to overcome. Security is probably the biggest one. I mean, giving an AI access to your local files in your network, that requires some extremely careful permission management. Then there's adoption. For this to really work, it needs widespread support in a lot more apps and IDEs. And finally, while it's getting simpler, building these custom tools, well, it still has a bit of a learning curve.
But when you step back and look at the big picture, MCP really represents a fundamental shift in how we relate to AI. It's the key that unlocks the door, moving us beyond simple Q&A bots and toward having true collaborative partners. It's about finally breaking the AI out of that digital box for good.
And that leaves us with one last, kind of provocative thought to chew on. If a standard like this really takes off, does that mean we're about to enter an era where every single app, every tool, and every service will need its own AI connector just to stay in the game? It's definitely something to think about as this whole space continues to explode.